we've got an amazing body cam footage of a situation between some FBI agents and Harrison Floyd, who was a campaign worker in the Trump campaign back in 2020. So many questions are arising over this. Evidently, the FBI agents did not show their badges, did not show their credentials. They did draw guns on Harrison Floyd. By a testimony, he thought he was being robbed or threatened for whatever reason by some thugs. There's a lot of questions coming up on this, and we want to try to dive further into it. Joining me now to discuss this, among other things, on how the Department of Justice seems to be targeting conservatives to create a two-tiered system of justice. Joining me now is Bishop Garland Hunt. He, by the way, is the senior pastor of the Father's House in Norcross, Georgia, and he is also the newly announced president of the Douglas Leadership Institute, replacing our dear friend who recently passed away, Dean Nelson. Bishop Hunt, welcome back to Washington Watch. Always great to see you, my friend.
Thank you so much, Jody. It's good to be with you. It's good to be with you.
Well, listen, before we get into this situation with Harrison Floyd, let me first of all just say congratulations to you on your new role. Tremendous organization there, the Douglas Leadership Institute. So many of us both celebrated and, of course, mourned the loss of our dear friend Dean Nelson, whom you're succeeding. Describe real quickly your vision for the Douglas Leadership Institute, some initiatives perhaps that you have in the works right now. Just real quickly, let's start there and then we'll transition.
Okay. Yeah. Well, first of all, Jody, it's bittersweet, because Bishop Dean was a spiritual son of mine, actually, as well as, so we've been together for well over 30 years. So I knew him way before he was married and his family and all that. So I just feel total investment in what God was doing with his life. So we certainly know that he had a great legacy that he was establishing as it relates to imparting to the marketplace those that could change the marketplace and the culture. And he did a great job with that. He organized many, many people together, pastors together, faith leaders together. So my goal coming in, actually, he asked me, I hate to say it like this, on his deathbed, if I could take it over for him. And certainly, it'll be my privilege to do so because I feel like he's a part of me. And therefore, as we go forth now, we just want to extend really the culture and the voice of the Black community. And without excuse, the Black community has been so impacted by liberal voices. And even now, right now, it's the same thing. I mean, with the Biden administration, with those voices that are trying to influence the Black community. But I'm noticing that Blacks are beginning to, in a small percentage of Blacks are beginning to stand up and realize that everything that the liberal community is saying, the progressive community is saying, is not the right thing for them. So Douglas Leadership Institute is actually based upon the words of Frederick Douglass that he very astoundingly quoted the Bible when he talked about righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach. And that's very much thing. We have to exalt righteousness. So in that regard, we have to strengthen the Black family. The Black family is huge because, most Black kids are raised by a single Black mother. Almost 75% of Black young people are raised by one single parent. So that the family structure is very, very important. So we're doing everything we can to strengthen the Black family, and also to apply biblical principles to get people involved with civic engagement, get them involved in the marketplace, get them involved so they can understand biblical worldview. We also look at things like criminal justice reform, how criminal justice impacts the community at large, as well as even the Black community. We have to have them stand there and understand what justice means, because people in the street crying out for justice, and they're not looking for biblical justice. They're looking for justice for their cause. So we want to really get that straight. And I guess lastly, we talk about economic opportunity also, because that's really where the rubber meets the road. How do we provide economic opportunity for a lot of different Black communities that desperately need to understand that a liberal way of doing things is not the proper way, but that a conservative biblical approach is freedom for them, even financially. So those are just some of the things that we stand for as an organization. And I have that as my heart and a burden that we have to really transform our communities. And we can't look for somebody outside to do it. We have to do it from within. And the church has to be the beginning of it. As a pastor, I believe the church has a responsibility of leading the way and impacting our culture.
Well, I can't tell you how thrilled we are. I am personally. I've known you for many years. I think this is a perfect fit for you. And I know Dean Nelson years ago introduced me to Frederick Douglass and his work. And I have read, Frederick Douglass became one of my heroes. I read everything I could about him, just phenomenal. And the Leadership Institute there, congratulations and Godspeed to you. All right, let me ask you this. You've always been a passionate advocate for life, among other things, and we've seen the Department of Justice targeting pro-life advocates ever since Roe was overturned. But this two-tiered system of justice also applies to people like Harrison Floyd. Give me your thoughts on this.
I think that it's a perfect example. Unfortunately, Harrison Floyd is black, and but I think they don't care about color. They care about the position that you have, and it's very, very important to recognize that they're used many times in the Justice Department and the advocates to weaponize it against those conservative elements. So right now we're really seeing something that probably has not been seen quite like this in our nation. Most of the time we fight against this kind of thing, but for the Justice Department to come clearly against people that are literally actually fighting for their freedoms. And Harrison is fighting for his freedom right now, and he's probably, of all those that have been indicted, probably the least able in terms of wealth to be able to defend himself. But it seems like the attack against him has been so great because of his verbal stance that he's been taking it. And then for them to come, as I understand, to come against him, not even identifying themselves as FBI agents. Why would they do that? It's almost like they're inciting something to happen. And Harrison's not one that's going to back off. And they were almost inciting him without showing the badges, without declaring exactly who they were. And of course, that anybody, because he's been under threats, remember, in this whole process. So he doesn't know who to trust. So that was a very unfortunate that happened as it relates to Harrison.
Bishop Garland Hunt, thank you so much for joining us today. And again, congratulations on your role at the Douglass Leadership Institute and for getting us this information as we get started on this whole issue with Harrison Floyd. We appreciate your input a great deal.